after 8 o'clock. We'll call our meeting to order. First up, we're looking for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion and support. Questions, comments, additions, deletions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next up is public comment. You have 5 minutes to address the board. Please step forward and give your name if you have any public comments. Any public comments? Hearing none. Committee items, minutes from the March 2015 meeting. Looking for a motion. Motion and support. Any corrections? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next up is appointments. We have quite a group. I don't like to make an assumption, but if there are no nominations from the floor, I'd like to do them by group if we could, and speak up if you have a nomination you'd like to make other than the applicants. The first group that we have is the Joint Airport Zoning Board, and the applicants are John Warden, Jack Cook, and Thomas Schaffner, who are all the current members. If we could have a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. The next one's a long list of 11 members. Some of them, or most of them, are mandatory, I believe. It's the Emergency Management Advisory Council. Are there going to be any nominations from the floor, Commissioners? If not, then if we could have a motion to forward the applicants' names as printed.
So.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Region 2 Area Agency on Aging, same thing. Any nominations from the floor on these? If not, if we could have a motion. Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Those two names will be forwarded. The Land Bank, if we can do these separately, the first one is a commissioner member. Carl Rice is the current member, and Daniel Mahoney is the applicant. Be looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next one's the Township Supervisor for the Land Bank. Commissioner Alexander caught that it appeared, okay, there is one typo. It's Pete Jancic. It's listed as Pete on the second spot. So, we'd like a motion, please.
I'll make.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. And lastly, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Be looking for a motion there. James Seats is the applicant. Motion, is there support? Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Those names will all be forwarded to the full board. Next up, we have the equalization report. Ruth, are you still here? Good.
Good morning. You have before you the 2015 Equalized Values Report. As you know, every year it's required by state law that the County Board of Commissioners equalize values for all local townships through the equalization process, through your board or through your equalization department. So we've done all the studies, the ratios were submitted to the local units. We've checked all the values that have come in March. They're all in compliance. There are no factors applied this year. So I would request that this would move on to the full Board of Commissioners for approval so that it can be submitted to the state of Michigan on May 4th.
Commissioners, any questions of Ruth? If not, if we could have a motion, please. Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
Next up, we have South Central Michigan Works, the biannual report. Good morning.
Morning. My name is Mike Jones. On behalf of South Central Michigan Works, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. You have before you submitted about 3 weeks ago our report, and I'll just share some highlights with you. regarding unemployment and employment in Jackson County, and I just recently received some updated figures, so I'll provide those to you. So far in year 2015, if you look at our region, which is Battle Creek, Kalamazoo, Jackson, we look at that as a watershed. Battle Creek has a 5.2% unemployment rate. Kalamazoo's coming in at 5%, excuse me, and then we just recently went from 6.2% down to 5.6%. So we are hiring. That's the good news story. The bad news story is I can't find workers. I wish I could. Phil will definitely understand this. We can't find truck drivers to save us right now. And as I presented to the Rotary Club just a short time ago, I think one of the reasons why is because you have to get a commercial driver's license, and that means you're going to end up in the pool for random drug testing. Now, I don't have any data to support that, but I think that's one of the things that's really, really hurting us. Yeah, Phil?
Not only is it the commercial drug test, they're subject to alcohol screens now. They're also, insurance is being very difficult. If you have any type of alcohol-related offense in the last 36 months, you can't get insurance on a driver.
Yeah.
I guess that could even be on your raft in the middle of Clark Lake. Alcohol-related offense, and you can't get insurance. So there's a number of things, but it is very difficult, yes.
Now, we're really having a difficult time trying to find skilled workers particularly, and I'm going to share with you a couple highlights South Central Michigan Works is doing to kind of support that and move that along. Just when you look at non-farm payrolls, we have remained relatively flat across Jackson County. However, we did inch up 100 in the month of February, the latest statistics, so we are starting to see an uptick. But once again, we're pretty much flat, although we are 900 above our February 2014 level, so that's good news. On the next page, one of the things I included in this report, which I haven't in the past, because unemployment gets talked about a lot, but really what we look at is the labor force participation rate. And you'll see that we're pretty comparative as a state overall to states around the Great Lakes region. We're at 6.3% overall in the state of Michigan. You'll see that Illinois is at 6.1%, Indiana 6%, and then Ohio's at 5.1%. So we're pretty much aligned with the states around us. But if you look at the labor force participation rate right now, we're at 60.6%, which means 40% of those folks aren't even being counted. So, you know, when you hear about the unemployment rate, it really is a misleading indicator, and it is a lagging indicator, because we have 40% of the people out there we can't find, and that's going to become very challenging for South Central Michigan Works when the WIOA, which is the Workforce Investment Opportunity Act, fully takes effect on July 1st of this year, because we have to spend 70% of our funds on out-of-school youth, aged between 18 and 24 years. My concern is how do we even find them? Because once they leave the academic setting in high school and they blend into the social fabric of our counties, it's going to be very challenging for us to even go out and identify those individuals. What's that? Well, yeah, social media, definitely. We're going to have to explore all options, Mike, because it is going to be something that's going to be very challenging for us, so we're going to be taking a look at that. One thing that we've done to help employment in this area, and I think this is very, very important for you commissioners, is year to date, and our program year runs from July 1st to June 30th, we here in Jackson County have written almost $97,000 worth of on-the-job training grants, which means that what we're doing is we're helping employers integrate and bring people into the workforce, and we're offsetting some of their initial wages. For example, if you're an employer with 50 or fewer employees, I can offset up to 90% of those initial wages with a brand new employee. And usually it's about a 6-week window. If you are an employer between 51 and 250 employers, I can offset 75% of those initial wages. Over 250 employees, I can offset up to 50%. That is huge. And you have a lot of manufacturers in this county that are taking advantage of that, and I think that's great. And so if you can get the word out to employers that that money is available through the federal government, I think that would really, really help our situation. Finally, just some fast facts from July 1st to February this year. We filled over 910 jobs. We served over 12,430 individuals. Visitors to our centers, both in Adrian, Lenawee, Hillsdale, and Jackson, which I represent, we've had 38,660 total visits, and we served over 587 employers. And so we're out there aggressively trying to help our employers, not only in Jackson County, but in our Tri-County area, to boost their employment. But once again, it's not that I don't have jobs. I do have jobs. My problem is trying to find skilled workers. That's a challenge. Any questions?
Commissioners, any questions? Mike? Steve?
week, and MLive reported that we've had a reduction in new business creation in the state of Michigan, impediments to getting new businesses started. And they also cited the fact that the economy is turning around and people are giving up their new business and going back to work in associated businesses. Do you see that trend changing in business creation of new companies in Michigan, or are we going to continue to shrink our total companies in Michigan as we go forward?
Steve, I'm not really seeing a lot of shrinkage, and the way I would see that is through individual incumbent worker training grants that I'd be offering up to companies that are going out of business, and I've written very, very few of those this year. If you are seeing businesses decrease, it's probably the very small mom and pop, what we refer to, shop. Yeah. I don't really have a solid answer for that. We might, they're not the kind of companies I typically get involved in. I'm not really seeing any trends towards that. The ones that I get involved with are typically 50 to 150 employees. I really, I can't, prospect on that. Any other questions?
Mike, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority and Economic Development Corporation biennial reports. Debbie, good morning.
Good morning. I'm Debbie Kelly with the Enterprise Group of Jackson. I staff the Jackson County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority as well as the Economic Development Corporation. And you have those two semi-annual reports in front of you this morning. We haven't had a lot of activity this year. Mainly regarding Brownfield, we're hoping to get grant funding this year. Cross your fingers. We haven't been funded in a couple of years, so we're hoping that this year we're successful. But we do have a couple projects and a couple potential projects that we're looking at. Related to the EDC, we have a lot of money to get out there in the community through the revolving loan fund. So if you know of any companies or hear of any companies that are having trouble with financing, send them our way, and maybe we can help. Other than that, I don't have a lot of updates unless there's any questions, concerns. Today we will be finalizing the Enterprise Group's March dashboard, so we'll get that into your email box probably this week.
Commissioners, any questions? Debbie, I see in your BRA report, you've got a link in there. You want us to comment on your new web page or your...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That would be great.
I would encourage commissioners to go there and look at it and give input
Yes.
back to Debbie or Amy.
Yep, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Next up, Kent Maurer, biannual report.
Good morning. I would like a few minutes of your time taking a page out of the Road Department's book, and I think it's important to understand some of the complexities that exist at the airport. So my presentation, and I'll brush through these briefly, has to do with aircraft guidance systems that all exist at the airport. The FAA in the world of aviation is a world of acronyms. First presentation by the FAA that I heard, I thought I was listening to a foreign language. We're going to talk about the Beacon, which is not an acronym. I don't think it is. Could be, I guess. The Mauser, which is the medium intensity approach lights. The Merle, which is the medium intensity runway lights. Taxiway lights, threshold lights. REAL, which are the runway end indicator lights. A PAPI, which is a precision approach path indicator. VASI is a visual approach indicator. Guidance signs and hold short signs. This is the Beacon. Yep. This is the Beacon. Actually, it was the first form of navigation by aircraft. Lighthouse keepers were the first to maintain these systems. There's one on top of our building, and you could actually line up on a clear day the beacons down I-94 and navigate by those beacons. It comes on each night or whenever there's low light, low visibility during the day. And there's actually, the old beacon is mounted in Aviation Heritage Park so that you can see that one up close. The Mauser are the lights that come in over I-94. There's 5 strobes, and then there are light rails. It gives the pilot the runway environment without actually seeing the runway pavement. And it's a welcome sight, I'm told by my pilots, when there's low visibility, to see those. This is one of the systems that has to be moved with the new runway system. And that is actually, the bottom left picture is a picture of our runway threshold. And there are threshold lights there too that give the pilot the identifier for the end of the runway. These are the medium intensity runway lights. They're generally white until you get to the last 1,000 feet of the runway, and then they turn yellow. Then at the end there's something red, always something red. We actually use these systems when we're plowing snow in low visibility. When you start to see the yellow lights, you know that you're getting near the end of the runway and you should probably slow down. Taxiway edge lights, they're almost always blue. We've gone to an LED light, which is a very low energy, fairly high cost, although the costs are coming down. We had a problem with the runway edge lights we put in during the 2008 project. There was a rubber grommet around these, and animals were eating the rubber grommet. We probably spent $8,000 to replace these lights over 3 years. The company did give us some consideration on one order, but they're high efficiency. They're supposed to be low maintenance unless you knock them over. Every fixture on the runway lights, signs, all of those are frangible, which means if you bump them, they fall over. So instead of having something rigid, if an aircraft leaves a runway, you want something that's just going to fall over. It doesn't make the incident any worse than what it would be otherwise. We're also obligated to maintain all surfaces out there within no less than 3 inches or no more than 3 inches of variation from pavement to ground or anything in the ground for that same reason. So if an aircraft runs off the runway, a big rut doesn't make the air crash worse. These are the flashing lights. If you go down Wildwood, when the lights are on, there are 2 flashing lights, and it's the runway end indicator light. Again, an indicator to pilots when the runway end is in sight. The PAPI and the VASI, the boxes on the upper left corner are the PAPIs. It's a precision approach path indicator. It gives pilots a visual representation of what glide slope they should be on and the center of the runway. So the saying is, I think, John, if I'm right, is red over white, you're right, and white over red, you're dead. I think it's something like that, which has to do with that if it's white over red, you're not on the correct slope into the runway. And then the VASI is a visual approach. It's not as precision, and all the VASIs in the new runway project will be replaced with PAPIs. Question?
How are these lights?
They're activated one of 2 ways. The air traffic control tower can turn those on whenever they're needed, when that runway is the active runway. And after dark or after tower hours, which is 9 p.m. till 7 a.m., the pilots can utilize their radios on our frequency, click the radio 5 times, and we'll turn on all the lights on the airfield, including these visual approach guides. And then 6 times, they actually can change the intensity of the lights. 6 times medium and 7 times as high. So it gives the aircraft, the pilots, access to the airport 24 hours a day into the light systems. I can tell you that the PAPIs in the upper left-hand corner, FAA standards sometimes are head scratchers. Each one of those boxes maybe weighs 65 pounds. You could carry it from the tailgate of your pickup truck out there and put it on that stanchion. Each one of those footings is 4 feet across and 7.5 feet deep. And if that isn't enough, you have to go in and you have to bell the bottom of that hole so that the cement rounds out at the bottom. I think it's overkill, but that's the FAA standard. So it's probably 3.5 yards of cement in each one of those 4 footings holding a 65-pound box. Of course, obviously, you don't want it to move. Guidance signs. Again, the 23 left sign there on the right, that means you're about to enter an intersection. It's called a hold short line. It's like the stop signs. If you inch 5 inches over that without permission, it's called an incursion. and there's a lot of paperwork associated from the FAA by an incursion. That means you've been in an area that's restricted without permission, and it's not just for pilots, it's also for our staff. So even though I'm the manager of the airport, I cannot navigate around our runway and taxiway system during tower hours without clearance and guidance from the air traffic control tower. Then the other ones, if their background is yellow, it's a directional sign saying you have to turn left or go 45 degrees to the right. And if it's lined in black, which the A is, it's where you're at. So that is, you're on Alpha, which is that taxiway. If you wanted to go to Foxtrot, you'd either turn left or right. And then there's electronic guidance. There's the ILS glide slope antenna, the localizer antenna, and the VOR antenna. These aren't the best photos, but the one on the left shows this localizer antenna, which is at the end of our runway. You can see from here it's maybe 300 feet off the end of the runway. In the new runway system, it'll be 1,000 feet off the end of that runway, because that is actually an object that could be struck, and has in the past, by an airplane that ran off the end of the runway. And then the one over to the lower right is the glide slope antenna, and that gives the aircraft with instrumentation the alignment with the runway. And you can bring it down to really to 300 feet with no visibility and be in line and on the correct path with that runway system. And then at 300 feet, you're supposed to have the runway environment in sight. And then this is the one that looks kind of like a root beer stand out in the middle of the field. It's kind of the GPS of yesteryear. That is a high omni radio transmitter that's frequency is identified with our airport, and it gives aircraft guidance, not only to the airport, but to runway system, or to the runway itself. Then just briefly, the maintenance. The FAA maintains the Mauser, the ILS, the PAPIs, VASI, and threshold lights. We maintain all the other lighting systems. There are approximately 400 lights and signs on the airport that we maintain, and we pay for the power bill on those also. And then after dark, after tower hours, rather, the pilots can activate the light systems. And then there's weather and wind guidance. There's just two. This is the windsock. It's called a segmented circle. I have no idea why, but it gives a visual representation of which way the wind is blowing, and then airplanes always want to land and take off into the wind. It's lighted at night. People do use that. And then there's the ASOS. This is the weather system that is maintained by the National Weather Service. When you get a weather report from Jackson, temperature, wind, humidity, it's coming from that site, and it gives pilots instant information of the winds, humidity, and all those other things, visibility at the airport anytime they want to find it. And then this is a photo of our electrical vault. It's a highly complex system. Each one of those boxes is a regulator assigned either to a runway or a taxiway. And that whole building, which is probably 20 by 18 or something like that, is dedicated to the runway electrical systems. So that is just a brief overview of some of the technology at the airport.
Not going to be a test later, I hope.
I don't want one either,
Okay.
because I'm not a pilot, so.
Kent, back to the windsock picture. What are those devices below the windsock all in the semi, or in the circle?
They are panels that are yellow. They're probably, each panel is probably 4 by 8, and they're in a V. And it's just so that if an aircraft or pilot is coming in, they can spot where the windsock is. And that's what's called the segmented circle. It's a huge area. It looks small in that photo.
Commissioners, any other questions of Kent? Okay, thank you, Kent. Looks like you've got another item up, I think.
I do. I'm requesting permission to purchase a zero-turn mower on the My Deal contract. It's a John Deere. It'll be purchased from Performance Auto, and it is a replacement mower for a Toro that has 2,500 hours on it.
Kent, state purchase gives, what, 23% discount?
23%, which makes you realize how expensive this was if you went to buy it retail.
Commissioners, any questions, or we'd be looking for a motion? Have a motion and a support. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thanks, Kent.
Thanks for your time.
Denise, fair?
Good morning. See if I can do this. Adam gave me a little demonstration, but am I clicking on the little boxes to make it go to the next one? You know, we're still new and high-tech at the fair. Thank you. So then I just click, the right click. Okay, good morning. Thanks for the opportunity once again. I always enjoy coming out and doing this, and you know, these presentations have really, I think, progressed in a much more professional way since I try to follow Kent, and he embarrassed me a few years ago with his presentation, so I knew that I had to have some good fun slides. All right, it is, obviously, we're in 2015. Okay, Adam, I'm so sorry. Oh, here we are. 2015 is the year of opportunities, and I think that after we go through this, the opportunity that we're talking about is probably one of our biggest opportunities, and I have a slide that shows that, but I think you all know what I'm talking about. Big things happened at the end of last year. A new era for the grandstand. As you can see from these pictures, that we did demolish the stage and the dressing room, and it looks fantastic. It's a wide open venue. It's a brand new venue for us, and it brings a lot of opportunities for the fair in regards to grandstand shows. And now that our capabilities have grown from basically about 9,000 capacity, we actually could. We could bring up to 12,000 people. Of course, if we're setting chairs for that many people, it makes my grounds guy a little bit nervous, but we can do it. It can be done. And I believe it will be done in the coming years. We just finished storage. Matter of fact, Saturday I spent a morning on the fairgrounds removing everything for the most part from our buildings. Storage has become a really big opportunity revenue-wise for us, and as you can see, we stored over 130 units this year, which I have to usually turn folks away in the big barn, and those are the giant units that are motorhomes and fifth wheels, because we're kind of limited in regards to storage on those due to the size of the doors in some of our barns are not large enough. So every year, matter of fact, have people calling me starting in February saying, can I get on the list for storage for next year? So it's just like anything else. Whoever stores with us this year gets first refusal, but they have a very small window to make sure to let me know they're coming back. We start that in October, and we finish it in April. That's pretty much the normal timetable, and that's based on the fact that we actually start in April getting ready for the fair year and a swine show, which is actually Wednesday, and we have to utilize our barns for a big swine show that we have. We just finished February 14th, our 5th annual beer festival. It was a ginormous success, as always, and I'm just so excited about this, but I'll tell you, it is a lot of work to do, but if I didn't have such a great group of people that support us, it certainly would be something that I would look at every year going, oh my gosh, do I have the energy for it? Every year our attendance has grown, and we managed to bring in 209 beers, and I didn't realize we had that many, and next year I will look at my list a little closer because our distributors get a little excited about bringing all their new craft product, and so when I see the number at the end, I'm like, okay, well, that's a little more beer than we need, so next year we will probably pare back a tiny bit, but we try to go and get the newest of the new, and then we go from there. Mr. Overton, I did have a picture, but then I was asked to remove it, so I won't say anything else. And you're a photo bomber. We had some new vendors for the Beer Fest this year that were kind of fun, and something that we hope to add every year, a little bit different flavor, add something else for the folks to do besides the tasting. And this year we had a cigar Swisher Sweets, which very, very nice people, and also we had a Hammerschlagen game, which these folks found out about us because I do advertise on Pure Michigan website, and I get a lot of feedback on that, and that's where these folks came into play. So some new vendors, of course that means new revenue for us, and helps us grow our event. Now, the little guy in the upper left-hand corner, you know, that building is so poor about the sound system in there, so he kind of got lost in the mix a little bit, but really nice opportunity to bring a little background music, but not sure if everybody heard him, but he was really good if you were there. All right, our next thing coming up on the fairgrounds, besides the swine sale, is the Project Red, which is April 28th. And if any of you have not had a chance to come out and participate in that, you really should. This is a wonderful opportunity for our third graders in the Jackson County school system. And I believe last year we had over 2,000 kids. I want to say 2,200, maybe that, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Anyway, it's something that the schools now put on their calendar, and they know that they'd like their kids to participate in. And this, like the Beer Fest, takes a tremendous amount of volunteers, which I should say that the volunteers for the Beer Fest, it was over 112 is what it takes to do that. But anyway, this program, we partner with the Farm Bureau folks, and they do a wonderful job, and we utilize the majority of our grounds to host the educational seminars that they put on during the day. And they do have some animals that do participate, so we do have a lot of trailers that come in the morning along with the multiple school buses, so there's a lot of activity getting ready for this. Upcoming events, every year I like to put a couple slides, and this year it took all of 2 slides because we have added, and there's a couple of potentially new projects that we will have on the grounds, which right now I won't put out there, but I'm really excited about, that we'll be adding to this list for next year. Last year was the first AKC Dog Show, and they do have a 5-year contract with us, so they're looking forward to coming back again this year, and had a great turnout and a lot of positive feedback in regards to that. So as you can see here, it's just a little smitten. The 5K run, which was part of Nightlights, was new for 2014 too. John Spink, who owns Nightlights, added this, and there's been a really big feedback on that, and maybe that's something that the fairgrounds can look to do a separate 5K at some other time, because they did have a lot of participation. American One is also partnering to do a new project in October, I believe it's October, by Michigan Now, which is a partnership that they're doing, and it's going to be a 2-day festival, and it's going to actually have all Michigan-made and produced products. So I'm excited to see how that goes, because they would like to make this long-term. Fair Week is, like everybody says, oh my gosh, you made Fair Week a week later. No, I didn't. That's just the calculation from Labor Day, but it is the 9th through the 15th this year, so certainly mark your calendars, because I know every one of you guys up there want to come and volunteer at least 1 or 2 days for an event. And there's a couple of great events that you could actually put your mark on. We are so excited about the Shine Down opportunity and our comedian, which we just announced just a few weeks ago, Gabriel Iglesias, also known as Chairman Shotwell says, Fluffy, which he is known as Fluffy. If you have not had a chance to YouTube this gentleman, it is going to be a hysterical show. We're looking forward to it. But we have had phenomenal on sales for both of these. And I'm a country girl, and this year we will not be having country music at the fair, and there's been just a little bit of twisted eye about that, but I can tell you that certainly is not the direction that the fair is going in. However, with our rock and roll folks, we will certainly try to support their needs, because they have certainly supported us when we kicked off with our Godsmack concert. So Gabriel Iglesias, being a comedian, something we haven't done in a long time, a comedian, so excited to see, and like I said, the response has been tremendous. I expect this to be a huge success too. And of course, our additional events that we're having at the fair, we always have monster trucks, the Enduro Racing Demo Derby, those are staples with the fair. The rodeo is coming back this year. We had a great response. This will be their 3rd year. You know, we try to look at other opportunities, but so sometimes bringing a show back for 3 years in a row is something we kind of take a look at. However, we did have a lot of input locally from our 4-H FFA kids that participated in this rodeo, so I think it's worthwhile to bring back again. And of course, you know, the birthing barn, this year we're excited because pigs are coming back. And you may think that's funny, but missing the baby pigs being born made a big difference last year when we were not able, due to the strain of whatever. But anyway, everyone knows what we're talking, anyway, that we didn't want to, didn't want to take any chances, and our veterinarian really suggested that we hold off for a year, but he saw what a major impact that made on our birthing barn. I mean, they did a great job filling in, but seeing baby bunnies born and eggs hatching is nothing like seeing, all those baby pigs being born, so we're excited about that. And this year, we always have free acts, not only on the Gumper stage, but we have a free act, and normally in the past few years, it's been animal. This year, we're also going for something different. It's going to be a comedy cowboy show that's going to be over in the free act area, which is on the other side near the birthing barn. It's a comedy show that a couple of the board members and myself witnessed when we went to one of our conferences, and we hired them, and we think it's going to be a great new attraction that, you got to keep things fresh, so you got to change things up. But I have looked at this video a number of times on the show. I laugh every time. I know I might be kind of one of those weird people, funny things are, juvenile, but I think it's going to be a crowd pleaser. And this, I'll put a little plug in, this is obviously one of the biggest opportunities that we have coming up is our master plan process. We'll be talking about that, Scott and I, after I get done with this. But I'm really excited, and if it's all right, can I put a plug in for the company that we have potentially, hopefully hired, that there is a lot of ownership, local ownership in putting this plan together, so that's why I'm really excited about working with Pat. He really, really wants to see something tremendous come out of this, so it's nice to work with somebody that already has a passion for what those of us that currently have passion for what the potential for the fairgrounds offers. And that wraps it up, so if there's any questions.
Commissioners, any questions? Julie?
Thank you for that detailed presentation, Denise. So, could you give us some idea of where we stand utilizing the fair facilities currently compared to in the past? Whether you want to go in the direction of just the American Fair Events Center or the grounds in general, how many weekends is that actual building booked, or just give in comparison to previous years?
Sure. I'm very fortunate that the American One building is rented almost every weekend, whether it's a trade show, whether it's a wedding reception. I mean, we are rented every weekend there, but we do have a lot more in the fairgrounds to offer, and we do need to be able to let people aware that we have a grandstand that we only use 1 week a year. There's a lot of opportunities for folks to come in and put different types of shows on our infield. Our infield is pretty large. We've looked at some things, and we're hoping that we can nail down why our infield and our grandstand will be available for different types of shows. I've had people call me about the track, dirt bike racing, that kind of thing. None of that is panned out yet, but I think when we nail down our master plan and put some actual schematic numbers and that thing out there for some of those folks that are looking at, they'll see why it is a great value to them to be able to do stuff like that. We have very limited opportunity of using our non-seasonal buildings, which the Gumper building is, totally seasonal. We've had, that would be a wonderful opportunity for flea markets under a grandstand, and other for flea markets. Those kind of things have already been brought to me, but then they realize you can only use them just a short time a year. So there's the potential of just tweaking a few things for some new programs is huge. So, but I am blessed to say that we do have a lot of rentals for American One, but with some updating to that building, we could have a lot more actually. I do a lot of just small little events during the week, like demo derby. The Death Row Derby girls do their practices in there. I've got a dog, the AKC does a dog training class inside that building, but those are small dollars. Basically, it's just enough to pay for the energy, to have them come in and use that midweek, but it's nice to have that, building used midweek. But with all that use, there's a lot of wear and tear on it, so.
Chairman Chatwell?
Two comments, if I may. One, Denise, the home builders speak very highly of you and really, really appreciate everything you've done for them. And also, I'm supposed to congratulate and thank Administrator Overton from the Home Builders Association for your assistance with permitting with the city and straightening that whole thing out, and how very, very helpful that was for them. One, and two, the Gumper building is a great building to utilize. We started out 3 years ago with a little event that's now turned into a Saturday event that now is going to have 12 different vendors at it. We started out with 3, and I think we should really have some some positive use for that building, and I really believe it's a good building to utilize, for early spring and early fall events. And I look forward to seeing everyone there May 30th for the Garden Club show.
Yes, that was on my list, but I didn't point that out. I apologize, Chairman, because if you're getting your gardens ready, that obviously is the one you want to go to. Thank you.
More questions? Okay. Master plan. Morning, Scott.
Good morning.
Actually, probably the majority of this we can defer to Mike in regards to just some little tweaking notes, but I think everyone has a copy of the contract that was sent out on board docs. We didn't think that Pat needed to come to this meeting, so if there's any questions in regards to this, we are excited about this opportunity and hope that we can ask for support.
Very detailed document. Don't know if commissioners have any questions of it. Been talked about fairly thoroughly, and again, a very long, thorough document, so. Okay. We have a motion. Is there support? Motion and support. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried, and it'll be forwarded to the full board.
Thank you.
That was the easiest thing you ever did, Scott. Next up is the Cascades renovation Phase 2 with the Spicer Group. Scott?
Good morning. If you go out to the Cascades this morning, you'll see that the Bailey Excavating is doing a phenomenal job, and they're on point and on task to have it completed by the beginning of May 19th being the last possible day for completion. And they've been very much an excellent pleasure to work with. Derek Huff is here from the Spicer Group. He's our project manager if there's any technical questions that you have. But what we're looking to do now is move into Phase 2, and we're looking for support to contract again with Spicer up to $95,000 for their engineering fees for doing Phase 2, which is all the mechanical, the electrical, and the building that they'll be housed in, along with the opportunity to develop 2 splash pads, because we're trying to do something to recreate the heart of the falls, which is all the plumbing and electrical and components of it, but also be able to share with the public the opportunity to have something new and creative down at the base of the Cascades, which would be 2 play fountains or splash pads, how you want to call them. And that will be all the engineering drawings. Plus, it gives us an opportunity then to reach out to other organizations like consumers and seeing if some of their materials could be donated toward this second phase, which would save the county a tremendous amount of money also. So we're looking support from affairs and agencies, then moving on to the full board for approval.
My only question is the financial aspect of it, which is to have it come from the float budget. We're confident the money will be there for that? Okay. Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'd be looking for a motion to send this on. There's a motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Julie?
Yeah, Scott, would you, if we could go back up just a second?
Sure.
We're talking about the completion of Phase 1, and you began by making reference to the final steps that are in place. Would you, for the public's benefit and some of the commissioners' benefit, share what steps are in place to ensure that the area is security is in place? Because you drive by, the wall is gone. Some may see vulnerability or whatever. Would you please address the security issue that has been taken place
Okay.
to
What you'll-
ensure that what's been done thus far will remain?
Yes, that's correct. Besides the security cameras that we have on the buildings there, we all have a decorative fence that will basically connect the concession building and basically come in an arc fashion all the way around to where the museum currently is at. So it'll be a 7-foot-high decorative fence. It'll look like wrought iron, but it's basically, framed metal. And then there'll be security lights that are there. If you go there right now, you'll see that there's the foundations and all the electrical workings are already set to put the decorative lighting, very similar to what the city lights are, the old style lights that they'll have there, and they'll be on a timer that we'll be able to have on, and we'll be able to raise the lighting or dim the lighting, depending upon whether we have an event or not, or the crowds coming or going, but it will be secure fence all the way around. That's a temporary fence too, because as we go into the final phases, that style of fence will also then be wrapped around the entire perimeter of the facility, including the new mechanical and electrical building that'll be being constructed also. So it will still have a fence, and there'll be technology in reference to security cameras, et cetera, throughout the entire property. You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Next up is the sheriff, the grant award and purchase of vehicle repeaters. Under Sheriff Cool.
Good morning. Ultimately, we'd be looking for support from this committee and move this item onto the full board for hopefully ultimate approval. Back on March 17th, we were informed that we were awarded a grant from the state of Michigan for $112,315. The grant was applied for back in late 2014 under a competitive school safety program, and the parameters of that application for the purposes of our office were in-vehicle repeaters to assist and aid in the communication should you have an incident within the school. We were approved for that, and so we were looking to not only accept the grant, but to purchase, as we said in the application, $112,000 worth of in-vehicle repeaters, which includes the installation and all the equipment from Rocom, Inc.
Kind of a no-brainer as I see it. It's full funding, correct, the grant?
Full funded, there is no matching dollars required.
Under Sheriff, my only question is I think it's for 35 vehicle repeaters. How many marked patrol cars do we have?
This will be every vehicle, including the detectives' vehicles.
Which is 35 altogether then?
Yeah, I don't have that in front of me, but we earmarked out every patrol car, except for the marine trucks.
Okay. Be looking for a motion. And any questions of commissioners? I'm sorry. Phil?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Sheriff. Is there an opportunity, or are you buying repeaters for the outlying areas like the Columbia Fire Department? Or is there an opportunity for them to get in on this at a bulk purchase price or something like that?
This grant was constricted to Michigan school districts and Michigan County Sheriff's Law Enforcement Services. It was applied for specifically under that. Now, having said that, I think I would acknowledge that $112,000 that we don't have to spend out of wireless surcharge funds allows us a much wider ability to spend those dollars on other agencies, which we eventually want to get to. And we will get to. There's other things in the phase plan of the radio system. Those things are coming to closure or at least fruition, but not having to utilize dollars on our own vehicles is very opportunistic for the other agencies.
Well, I would say we have a radio issue in Columbia Township, and with the fire department out there unable to communicate from inside buildings, if they have an emergency inside one of the schools, they'd be well served to have this repeater.
Chris, can I interject? Phil, I appreciate you bringing that up. The sheriff has been good enough to install a repeater in one of our patrol cars probably 6 months ago, I think, on a test basis, and I think they did them in the four corners of the county. I'm not sure what other agencies have them, but they do substantially help in areas of the school and other places. I don't necessarily think they're the panacea, but I think they're a necessary element with the radio system we have. But just to be fair, they have put one as a test in one of our vehicles.
Do you get a bulk price buying as many as you're buying?
No. There's no discount whether you buy 100 or buy 5. They are on a government purchase plan, because obviously these are usually the only people that use them. So whether you buy a large quantity or whether you buy a small quantity, it's a specific dollar amount. And really the only figures come into the connection of the in-vehicle repeaters, whether there needs to be a GPS antenna. For example, all of the law enforcement vehicles in the county have modems, which these will connect to. Those were bought with wireless surcharge funds, and that assists that process in using the repeater. So that would be the only question, is whether there's additional dollars on the installation. And ultimately what we would like to get to, probably in very short order, is law enforcement vehicles equipped, and then initially the first out fire apparatus equipped. Because it's not as though you need every apparatus equipped with these, because multiple radios can utilize one. So that is the ultimate plan, and as soon as these 2 towers that are in the hopper finalize their way through, then we're going to move towards that. Probably on a dual track, but we need to confirm some things with the tower situations that we have pending right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And if not, we're looking for a motion. Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thanks, Undersheriff.
Thank you.
Register of Deeds. Mona. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I think everybody knows who I am, except a
Mona, can you
couple
pull
of
the
new faces.
microphone down, please? Or raise yourself up. One of the two. There you go.
I'm Mona Webb. I'm Chief Deputy in the Register of Deeds Office, and I'm here to present the 2014 Annual Report. Everyone was presented with a copy. Shows our revenue accounts, our document numbers. I mean, I don't need to go through every page. We were down from 2013, but if you do notice, county transfer tax increased in 2014, even though we had less deeds recorded, which seems to mean that we're having better sales, because county transfer tax is based on the selling price of a property, and those revenues increased. No, you don't really want to hear it, do you? I mean, I can, but we also noticed another decrease in sheriff sales, mortgage foreclosure sales, which is a good sign. And this year I also included a breakdown by township of the mortgage foreclosures for each of you to see how your districts are faring.
Mona, I've just got a couple of questions, or a question and a point. You talked, great detailed report too. You talked in here about how you've changed the ability to print. It used to be just thumbnail, I think, that you could
Right.
print. And can a resident now go in there, see a full image of everything and print that?
No. When
can't.
they print it, they get a full image. What we were talking about was with our title companies, attorneys. We used to have what we had set up as contracts, certain ones got certain things, and we felt that that wasn't fair. We opened it up to anyone that would like to view a full image. They pay a user fee per month. It's watermarked to protect our images, but when they print it, the watermark's removed. But everyone sees thumbnail images. It's a way to prevent anyone from just downloading all of our images.
So if John Q. Citizen wanted to go in and print full images, they'd have to have a monthly user account?
They can print full images. They can't view full images. They view thumbnails.
I see.
In the office, you view full images. Online, you view thumbnails. That's to protect our data from being uploaded. There's a lot of companies out there that will just grab and upload and then turn around and resell it.
Okay, and then secondly, you've talked about the remonumentation in the county. How many corners are left? Are there percentage-wise?
You'd
Are
have to
we
talk
halfway
to your
done? Or
surveyor. We don't know. We don't have the numbers. We record them, but I don't know in the program, how many corners there are. They're still needed.
Okay, that's all the questions I had. Commissioners, any questions from anyone else?
I also wanted to bring to your attention, every year I had mentioned our lawsuit we have with Fannie Mae in regards to the county transfer tax. We lost that lawsuit. And now some attorneys are sending out letters to everyone, letting them know, oh, the county may owe you money for transfer tax that they collected that they shouldn't have. A lot of people are calling. We either didn't collect it. Those that we did collect, I've gotten only 3 requests so far, and per our council, they, number one, would have to apply for a county transfer tax refund, and we'd also include an affidavit from Fannie Mae or their representative stating, because all these people are saying, I paid that, Fannie Mae didn't pay it, it came out of my pocket. We are requesting an affidavit from Fannie Mae or their representative stating that they'll release those funds. So I don't give you county transfer tax, and then Fannie Mae comes back and says, you owe me county transfer tax. I've only got 3 requests, and they've just interest, nothing else, no applications or...
Any idea how much is at risk financially if we had to pay it all or not?
About 30,000,
I'm sorry, 30?
30,000
And the appeals are all done, it's not being appealed from here?
that we lost all appeals. There is a statute of limitations, I think they have 3 years left. But like I said, I've gotten 3 interest, but no applications, no affidavits. It's gone that far, just 3 calls.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions? Thank you. J.C. Dot, I see Bob and Chris both here. You've got a whole bunch of items, looks like, about 8 of them, or 9? And Joe. I didn't see you hiding there behind Denise, Joe. Sorry, my apologies.
Sorry about that.
I did see the shining light from down low, but
Yeah, we got a flurry of things on the agenda here. I mean, the first one is the site plan in Hanover Township. Jack Ripstrip was the design engineer, and we looked at those plans over, and I'm going to recommend approval to the board.
Commissioners, any questions on that one? And if not, we'd be looking for a motion. This will be the motion and support. This will be the Brown Hut site in Hanover, Joe, correct?
Yes, it is.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next up is the Wall Diesel Performance and Service, Joe, Grass Lake.
Yes, that's another new building that's going to go up on Clear Lake Road north of I-94. And he may be looking for some mechanics too, so maybe Mr. Jones can find some for him there.
Okay, Commissioners, any questions? If not, a motion?
So moved.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Local Bridge Program, Joe.
The fiscal year 2018 local bridge program, so we have to apply for these funds. They are due on May the 1st of 2015, and the funding is not available until 2018. So it's like 3 years in advance, so we really got to look ahead at what we want to do. These are the same 5 bridges we applied for last year. Unfortunately, this was one of those years where our county did not receive any bridges. So we're going to try it again, and part of that application process is the bridge inspection reports, and so we have to submit those and an engineer's estimate for replacement of the bridges. And what they also require is a resolution from our county board.
So moved.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Boardman Road.
Boardman Road, that's the contract between JDOT and MDOT for the financial parts of the project. In the tip, there's $400,000 of federal aid, urban dollars for it, and $100,000 local match, and that does require signing of the contract and a resolution indicating who is eligible to speak on behalf of Jackson County DOT.
One question from me, Joe. No experimental type work there, right?
None, nope. We're going to mill off 3 inches of blacktop, put back 1.5 inches, and then we're going to put some paving fabric down, and then 1.5 inches top course or wearing course on top of that, and we should be good to go. And this is from West Ave to Maynard, so it's not the part that goes across the airport property. This is...
Which is not typically too bad, correct?
Correct.
Right. Okay, Commissioners, any questions? Looking for a motion?
Support.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Moscow, Lansing Ave, and County Farm Road, Joe.
Yes, this is our rural part of the tip there. Those 3 projects are in the tip to be done this year. We're going to do some wedging out there first, and then a single course chip seal, and then a fog seal on top of that, and then we will put down the new pavement markings. And again, this is the typical protocol that goes along with your federal aid projects, so you have your contract between MDOT and JDOT here to explain the financial ramifications.
Commissioners, questions? Hearing none, a motion's in order.
So moved.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Jay, how's this, Joe, this next one different than the last?
I don't know, that looks like
Looks the
a
same to me.
redundancy there, yeah. I think that's just the same thing as item Q there.
I
Dave.
read through it last night and it looked the same to me.
Yep,
So,
that is, so I would just,
okay, we'll go on to the Crossroads Western, Section 27 Sandstone.
yep, one more site plan. This is on Deering Road, it's on the west side, it's between the off-ramp at I-94 and Deering Road and the Mackey property. A big commercial fueling station. It looks like it's going to be done in 2 stages, but what we're concerned about is the driveway connection on Deering Road in the right-of-way there. So we looked at the drainage issues, curb and gutter and all of that, and I wanted to recommend approval to the board.
Any questions, Commissioners? If not, a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Bid extension for St. Regis Culvert.
I'm going to let
Pretty self-explanatory.
Oh, Chris. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Morning, Chris.
Morning, thank you. Yes, indeed, very self-explanatory. We've been very happy, both for items T and U, with our vendors, and we recommend extending both of those contracts.
Okay, we'll take the item T first. Any questions, Commissioners? Hearing none, a motion, please. Is there support? Okay. Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Last one is for the tree cutting bid, Chris. Any explanation needed? Pretty basic, right?
Pretty basic, yep.
Okay.
We're very happy with the vendors, and we just want to extend. So,
Commissioners, questions? Hearing none? Motion, please.
So moved.
And a support. There we go. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thanks, Chris.
thank you. These are great examples of our partnership with Calhoun, by the way, in purchasing. Thank you.
Okay, that takes us down to claims.
Move to pay the claims.
Don't fight. Don't fight.
Oh, who has them?
I handed them to Sarah. You were out of your
They
seat.
went that way. Sorry.
I sometimes move fast, Julie. I'm sorry. Did I get a support on the motion? Did you get a support? Okay. Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same? Aye. Okay, motion carried with 1 nay. And you have the other minutes there, and the May reporting schedule takes us back to public comments. Any public, you have 3 minutes, and the public is leaving as we speak. Committee member comments. Any comments from our fellow commissioners? Hearing none, we're adjourned.